Hi guys, doing welcome to day 10 Precalculus. Today we're going to be solving a linear equation, solving for one variable, solving simple quadratics, and solving a quadratic equation by factoring. So we're going to do the first thing first, solving a linear equation, and we're going to do all these after that. So you want to write this down, feel free to do so. Pause the video if you need to. Alright, so solving a linear equation. This is pretty much a review from pre-algebra, if not algebra 1. So this should be easy. So I know this is probably the easiest thing I've done in this pre-calculus. I know it's already day 10, but so just try it out, see if you can do it. Pause the video if you have to. So what do you get? If I add 4 to the other side, I get 7x equals 3x plus 12. Then I subtract 3x, I get 4x is equal to 12. And x is equal to 3, right? If I divide by 4. Right, let's do b. b, 3 plus 1/3. X is equal to 5. So try it out. So what I do is subtract 3. I get 2. And then multiply by 3 here. I get 6, and that's it. C. 5t minus 13 is equal to 12 minus 5t. So that's 13 right there. You can't tell. Try it out. Okay. So what I do, I add 5t to both sides, I get 10t. I add 13 to both sides, I get 25. So dividing by 10, I get 25 over 10. T is equal to, I can reduce this. This will be 5 over 2. So now D. Try D. Okay, so D. C over 5 is equal to 3 over 10C. A lot of people have a hard time with this, even at pre-calculus, because they don't know how to do with the fraction. But how do you deal with the fraction, right? Here I didn't have to do so much work, but here I got to do a little bit of work, right? So best way to do this is get rid of the fraction, so I can multiply everything by LCD, which is 10. So if I do that, this will become 2z equals 3z equals plus 70. I subtract 2z, I get c here, and I subtract 70, I get negative 7. And that's it. So this is a review from algebra 1, maybe pre-algebra. So it's kind of pretty easy. So that's pretty much it. All right. Alright, so solving a linear equation. So now we're going to be talking about solving for one variable. So the key is solving, so I'm not erasing that. Might do that later on. Hope I don't forget, because the key, everything we're doing is solving. So in this case, solving for one variable. F is equal to G M, little m, big M over R squared. Solve for M. So solve for M, right? Big M. Okay. Okay, so how do I solve for M? Basically what I want is I want M by itself. So how do I do that? One way is to get rid of the fraction, so multiply everything by R squared. If I do that, this will go away, so this will just be FR squared. This will be GM over M. Now I want M by itself, right? So if I do that, I'm gonna get rid of this right here, the GM. So I'm gonna divide everything by GM. Okay, so let me do it on the other line. So GM. So I wanna get rid of this, right? So in order for us to do that, I gotta divide by GM. GM. Right? So now I just have it itself. I have M. Right, so FR squared is all over G times M. That's it. That's all you get. That's what you get. So what the key is, we want to isolate M, so we did that. Multiply both sides by R squared to get rid of the fraction. Now we just gotta isolate the M by dividing G over M to both sides. And we solve for M. Okay? So If you feel like it's moving too fast, you can always pause the video. So let's do a next problem. So A is equal to 2L, that's 2WH. What is that? I have no idea. That's 2H. So we want to solve for W. Solve for W. So when I say solve for W, I want W by itself. So, oh, I'm sorry. So this is 2LH. Did I copy that correctly? 2LW. Alright. So 2LW plus 2LH. Okay. So what should I do? How do I solve for W? So the key is you want W, isolate W by itself. And how to do that? If you haven't paused the video, try it out, see if you can do it. So how should I do this? So I subtract 2LH, right? Because I want W by itself. As you notice, everything here only has W. Now, the key is I want W by itself. So W, factor out W because they have W in common. So 2H, right? So now I just gotta divide by 2L plus H. I have W. See, not too hard. H all over 2L plus 2H. That's it. Okay, so there you go. All right, now we've just finished solving for one variable. What? Don't worry, we'll do some more practice problems. Make sure you understand this. Just finished solving for one variable, so let's go to the next one. Oh, I erased it. God dang it. See, I knew it. I know I would do it, but solving, key is solving. I erased it. Simple quadratics. So we have this when x squared over c, we want to solve for x, so we will basically have x is equal to square root plus or minus square root of c, which I can rewrite as square root of c plus, right? If you don't see anything, it's positive, negative square root of c. So let's do a problem using this idea. So c is a number, which is a constant. So same thing as 7, it's a number, it's also a constant. So how do I do this? Applying this, so we have x is equal to plus or minus square root of c. In this case, it's 7. That's it. Fairly simple, right? So try this one. See if you can do it. X over 9. Okay. So what is this? So you got x square, right? X is equal to root 9 plus or minus root 9. X is equal to plus or minus 3, right? We can still reduce that to 3. Not reduce, take a square root of that. It's a perfect square. So I guess you could say reduce, huh? Don't really think about it. So how do I get this? A lot of students, a common mistake, they forget the plus or minus applying this idea. The reason why is because of this. Square root of x squared is equal to absolute value of x. And a lot of teachers don't teach that. So if I do the same thing, if I take the square root of both sides, I get absolute value of x is equal to square root of 9. Right? Then what? What do you notice? This is the same thing as equal to 3, right? But what do you notice? Absolute value of x. X can equal be what? 3, and x can be negative 3. That's what it is. That's what it came from. That's why it's always plus or minus. That's the idea. So like this. That's why it's always plus or minus. But you can also write it like the way I did as well. That's the idea behind it. Because the square root of x squared is absolute value of x. That's where it came from. Okay. Alright, let's do C. C. X minus 4 squared is equal to 5. Now, taking the square root of both sides, you have x minus 4 equals plus or minus square root of 5, right? Applying that idea, just getting rid of the square, right? Now this is x minus 4. I don't know why I write the same thing. X is equal to 4 plus or minus root 5. That's it. D. So hope that makes sense. So let's try another one. See if that makes sense. X minus 3 squared is equal to 3. See, try it out. Yeah, that's fine. It doesn't matter, but let's make this 5. Because that's what my original question is. Okay. I want it to be the same as this one. Okay, taking the square root of both sides, right? It's basically the same idea, same step, making it almost similar, right? Plus or minus root 5. X is equal to 3 plus or minus root 5. Same idea, same steps. Alright, that's all you gotta do. Alright, now that's it. So we're finished solving a simple quadratics. Now we're gonna be solving a, alright, solving a, alright, so we're done with this. Pause the video if you need to. Alright, so we're not gonna erase solving. So we're not even gonna erase A this time. We're gonna be solving E. We're gonna erase A, nope, not this time. Oh, I don't need quadratic equation. I shouldn't erase quadratic equation by factoring. So in order for us to solve the equation by factoring, that's an A, is we're going to use the zero product property. So how do you use the zero product property? We got to know that A times B is equal to 0 if A is equal to 0 or B is equal to 0. So what does that mean? So basically if A is 0, AB is equal to 0. If B equals 0, AB is equal to 0. Okay? So that's the idea. So let's do some problems. So for it to make sense, we're going to do some problems. So here, let's do one. X squared plus 5x equals 24. So when we use quadratic formula, so in quadratic equation, we want to set equal to 0. So x squared plus 5x minus 24 is equal to 0. Then we have to factor this equal to 0. Then this is x plus 8 is equal to 0. X minus 3 is equal to 0. So x equals negative 8 and x equals 3. Whoa, what did you just do? Oh, yeah, I forgot, I moved too fast. So now the key is we gotta know how to factor when we do these. Okay, that's the 5. Gotta know how to factor. If you don't know how to factor, go back to the day 2 we talked about factoring. That's probably the hardest thing about this topic. Now we gotta factor, then we set equal to 0. So using the zero product property, I set this equal to 0 and I set that equal to 0. If this is equal to 0, this whole thing is equal to 0. If this thing is equal to 0, this whole thing is equal to 0. So in that case, if this is negative 8, this will be 0. If this was 3, this whole thing would be 0 as well. So that's the idea of it. So hopefully that makes sense. So let's do B. I'll do B here. I'm gonna see if you can do it. Okay. So try it out. Okay, so to do this, basically same idea. I'm gonna subtract 24 to the other side, right? This is equal to 0, right? Same thing, now we just got to factor. So instead of x plus 8, it's going to be x minus 8, x plus 3 equals 0. Then I said both of them equal to 0, right? Same idea. Now this is x is equal to 8, x equals to negative 3. Same idea, same steps. Alright, that's it. Okay, so we finished. Now let's do some practice problem. What? Practice problem already? Alright. Okay, so let's do some practice problems. So what is practice problem is basically I have you guys do problems on your own. Try it out, and if you don't get it, basically go back to the video and see why. It's like a pre-test. So first of all, we're going to solve for x. Okay, so 1 and 2, we're going to solve for x. Solve for x. So try 1 and 2 first. Should be easy. 4x minus 3 is equal to 8. And 2. 4 plus 1/2 x is equal to 5. If you don't get this, go back to the video. Why? But being precalculus, this should be easy to you guys. Okay. So what I do, I add 3 to both sides. You get 4x is equal to 11 divided by 4. You get 11 over 4. Okay, now try this one if you haven't tried it. Subtract 4, I get 1. Multiply everything by 2 to get x by itself, you get 2, right? That's it. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. Okay, now let's do number 3. This case, it's not x, it's t. So it's just we're just solving for the variable t. 4t minus 13 is equal to 8 minus 5t. Okay, so try it out. So we're solving for t. Let me just write it here so it's not. Solve for t. Okay, so what do? Combine the t, so this will be 9t. Add the 13 to the other side, you get 21. Divide by 9, you get 21 over 9. And I can still reduce this, so 21 over 9 divided by 3, so you get 7 over 3. That's it. Okay, now try 4. This time it's solved for m. So this case, it's little m this time. Not big M, little m. F equals g over m over r squared. So go ahead and try it out. Solve for small m. So we want to solve for this one right here. Okay, so what do? Multiply by r squared to both sides. You get gm over m. Right, I want m by itself, so I gotta divide by what? G and m, G and m. So I have f of r squared over gm is equal to little m. That's it. Our goal is to solve for m, and we did that. Okay, now what is next? 5. So I'm gonna erase this. Hopefully that makes sense. Pause the video if you didn't. Go back and pause the video if it doesn't make sense to you. P is equal to 2L. Let's do W. Solve for W this time. This one's fairly straightforward. Shouldn't take too long. Okay, so what do? Subtract the 2L because you want W by itself, right? Now divide by 2, you get W, right? That's it. Okay. Alright, now we're done with solving. Well, this time we're really solving for x. Okay, we're gonna solve for x. Set the next one. X. Okay. You could say we are solving for x this time. So see if you can solve for x. That makes sense. X squared equals 7. We want to solve for x. Try it out. If it doesn't make sense to you, go back to the previous problems we did. Okay, so what do? Taking what? Square root of both sides. We want to solve for x. Absolute, that's this absolute value of x, square root of 7. You don't have to do this step, but this is just to get an idea why you get this answer. Plus or minus square root of 7. Okay. Alright, that's 6. Alright, let's do 7. 7. What is 7? X minus 4 squared equals 6. Try it out. Okay, taking the square root of both sides, right? You get x minus 4, you get plus or minus 6. And you can say absolute value if you want to, but you gotta get rid of this plus or minus, so this is that. You have 4 plus or minus square root of 6. That's it. That's all you do. Okay. Alright, let's do 8. So solve. We gotta solve for x, but we gotta solve by factoring this time. So solve by factoring. Solve the quadratic equation by factoring. Equation by factoring. By factoring. Okay, so let's do problem. X squared plus 3x minus 4 is equal to 0. As you notice, it's equal to 0, so we can factor now. So goal is when you have quadratic equation, you want to set equal to 0 first, and it's already equals to 0, so that makes it easy for us. Okay, so try it out. So you got a key is to factor. You have x plus 4, x minus 1 is equal to 0, so you have x plus 4 is equal to 0, x minus 1 is equal to 0, x is equal to negative 4, x is equal to 1. That's it. Right? Key is knowing how to factor, and that's it. That's all you gotta do. Number 9. Let's write 9 here. So I can see 2y squared. So this time we're just solving for it's not x, but we can still solve for it, right? So what do? The key is to factor. So try it out. So what do? You factor, right? So you have 2y, y. Why is that? Because it's prime. The only combination of that is 2y and y. And here, it has to be positive and positive, because this is plus and plus. And to get 3, we could put, and I know 3, right? There's only combination of 3 and 1, but that doesn't work. So what do? I tried the other way. So 3 and 1. And how do I know this works? I can FOIL this, I'll get that original equation. So now I just set this equal to 0. So you have 2, y plus 1 is equal to 0, y plus 3 is equal to 0, y is equal to negative 1/2, y is equal to negative 3. That's it. That's all you gotta do. Alright. Last one. It's gonna be tough. This is actually a review, so I'm going kind of fast. But this question right here is really more pre-calculus, so I like this question. So try this one out. If you got this, if you know how to do this, this is great. Okay, you really understand how to factor and how to use what's the quadratic equation, how does it make sense to you. So I'm gonna give you a second to do this, or pause the video if you need to. So today's going to be a short day, so class will end early. trying to make my videos like 30 minutes, but sometimes, you know, it's a bit short. It's kind of hard to try to, or sometimes it's even longer than 30 minutes. But I try to make it 30 minutes. But eventually they balance out to 30 minutes. Some are shorter, some are longer. But the key is try to, you know, balance it out to be 30 minutes each one. At least on average, right? So how do you do this? Yep, class will end early. No! Okay. Aren't you happy? No? Okay. Alright. Alright, so how do I do this, right? It's kind of tough, right? I could obviously subtract 21 minus x. But the key is, I've been doing quadratic equation, and that's why I solved the quadratic equation. So what can I do? Make it a quadratic equation, right? That's the key, is quadratic equation. It's the second power. So now I'm going to have to distribute this. Now what? What have I been doing before? Setting it equal to 0, right? So I get negative 5x minus 21 is equal to 0. Now we gotta factor this. Wow, okay. So 2x and 3x, maybe that works, maybe it doesn't. I think about combination of 21, that's 7 and 3, but it has to, one of them has to be a negative. So let's try this, right? Does it work? It should work, right? And if it doesn't, you can check. You can always check, right? I could put this 3 and this 7, right? Something I mentioned, I have time. What if I have this 3 and 7? I know this doesn't work because you see they both have a GCF, right? They all have 3 in common, and this one doesn't have a GCF. So that's why I know it's wrong. So I know that does not work. So I know the 7 has to be here and the 3 has to be here. The question is the symbol, right? This is positive, negative 7 and positive 3. The reason why, because I want that negative 5x. So when I multiply these together, one by one, I should get that, right? And if you don't know how to factor too well, the key is factoring. Let's go to day 2. I talked about factoring and just playing around with it. Practice, practice. That's it. So set this equal to 0. Set this equal to 0. Yep, x is equal to negative 3 over 2. X is equal to 7 over 3. That's it. Okay? Okay. So that ends for today. So more practice problems. I have plenty of fun things to do, right? Page 55, 5 to 11 odd. 23 to 25 odd. 37 to 43 odd. So what book am I? So odd means like basically just do the odds, don't do the evens of 5, 7, 9, 11. This one is 23 and 25 only. Okay. So just do the odds. So what book am I using? I'm using the Stewart book, the 5th edition. So got this at Amazon for $20. If you want more practice, you can certainly do so. Okay.